obviously. Has it been productive? Has it been what you wanted?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's, there's always this fine line in the spring about, you kind of get to that point where, you feel like you've gotten what you needed to get done, and you're trying to keep guys healthy, and at the same time also, create a mindset, where you go out and you practice hard every single day, no matter what. And, every single rep is important, and we're still learning that. I mean, I think that's always a challenge, and especially in spring football, and especially the last week of spring football. You just got to come in, you got to show up, you got to be really focused, you got to, continue to do a lot of things situationally. That's one of the common themes that we talk about all the time, is being good at situational football. We did some stuff today, and continue to make mistakes and you learn from them, and that's kind of how this stuff takes place. And you want to make as many of those mistakes as you can in April, and you want to make them again in August, so you're not making them in September through January. And that's kind of the goal, is to create a lot of film to watch and learn from, and get corrected.
Did the spring create any questions for you, like where you go,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is always the same thing. Who are the guys that you can really completely count on? I think that's the thing. And when you say, okay, what does that mean? That means a lot. Just who consistently stays healthy, who consistently practices and performs at a high level, who is somebody that can always be on time and be accountable and be a good team guy, and just so it's an all-encompassing thing. Learning who you can trust and believe in every day, and there are guys that in the spring, make a bigger jump maybe than you thought. A guy that comes to mind is Josh Hoover. I think he's probably, we liked what we saw in the fall when he was running the scout team, but I think he's probably made as big a jump as anybody. And that's good. That's what you want to see. And then there's other guys that you wish they made a little bit bigger jump, and are, fall a little bit behind and start to get passed out by some young players. And that's always good. I mean, we have a lot of an inflection of good young talent, whether it's transfers or early graduates, and those guys have come in and pushed some of the older guys and created some good competition battles that will continue to fall camp, and that's what you want to see. And then also too, just checking your work as a coach and making sure that you're putting the right players in the right positions, to make sure you're getting your best guys on the field, whether it's your best 5-0 lineman, your best 3 D linemen, regardless of whether it's a nose or an end. Just making sure that, your second best D lineman or O lineman's not splitting reps with the first guy. And so you got to get them all spread out properly and get it distributed the right way, and then you build that first layer of guys you can trust, and then you start working on 1.5, where you say, okay, we have an outside receiver that we feel good about, maybe that can play both spots, and then hopefully you get to 2 deep, and then, at some point, hopefully you get to 3 deep. And so that's kind of what we're trying to get through right now. And we've had some players that haven't practiced much this year, some new faces that we think we know what we're going to get with those guys, but you're not completely sure until you get it.
John said there were some growing pains, obviously day one, but he feels a lot more comfortable with the offense. How do you think the offense kind of fits his skill set?
Good. I think the good thing about what we're doing offensively is, if you got a running quarterback, then you can major in your quarterback running the ball, but if you don't, then you can major in guys distributing the ball and getting the ball out to guys quickly that can make plays. And we have 2 quarterbacks that are really good at throwing screens. Both of them have a very quick catch and distribute the ball. They're good at doing that. They do it quickly. They're accurate. They're good mid-range throwers. I think the addition of more, quick game, I think, is going to be positive for us, and I think fits what those guys do well. I think also both of them do a good job throwing on the run, getting out of the pocket. And I think our ability to move the pocket maybe a little bit more than we have in the past and get out on the perimeter suits both quarterbacks, and so I feel good about what we're doing. And it's always the same. You throw all this stuff at the wall and you see what sticks, and then you take that and build your personnel around it and see what your quarterbacks are comfortable doing, and that becomes your offense and your identity.
You've spoken pretty highly on John Paul. He continues to look good. What's kind of your expectations for him this year?
Yeah, I think the big thing with him, you know, honestly, it's exactly what we saw. You know, it's a guy that is in the right place at the right time and plays hard and is available every day. I mean, you know, he hadn't missed a rep out there because of an injury or getting dinged or anything. And so he takes a lot of pride in his preparation outside of football, you know, and I think that allows him to come into football and perform at a high level and stay healthy. And the more reps he gets, the better he gets. And, you know, the better he gets, the more reps he gets. So it's kind of a cycle that way. And, you know, the good thing about John Paul, and he's done it, is he can play inside, he can play outside. You know, we'll sit down and we'll look at our inside receivers and how those guys compare, and again, make sure that we're getting the best guys on the field and make sure that those guys are getting the football. I've been really pleased with really that whole inside receiver crew. I think Doug's done a good job with those guys. I think they are, you know, we got guys that can run, we've got guys with good size. I think we're all excited about the addition of Jack Besh when we get him practicing a little bit more than he is now. He's real limited in what he can do right now, but you know, you start looking at all the different pieces. I think we're all excited about it. And, you know, it was good to see DJ Allen start to make a move a while back at the outside spot, and he got a little banged up, and you know, we're being a little careful bringing him along. But you know, it's always encouraging when you start to see young players figure it out, and you start to see them make a move. And I think DJ is one of those guys I'm really fired up about. You know, I think Savion has gotten more consistent this spring. So it's just figuring out who the best players are and again, putting them in the best situation.
I know they're not going to play key roles on the team necessarily, but when you see your roster has a last name like Staubach and Party,
yeah,
and obviously with your history too, is that?
Yeah, I know, it's cool. It's great having those guys. I mean, they're both ultimate team guys. I mean, I think that's, you know, they both have obviously been around football. Football's been an important part of their life. They understand, you know, how this stuff works. And I think they also understand how important they are to a program. You know, when you have people that are unselfish and put the team first and understand their role and understand that, hey, sometimes I may not get to play a lot, or sometimes I may not get a lot of credit, or sometimes no one's going to pat me on the head that much or talk about me that much, but I still show up every day and I still work incredibly hard. That creates a culture. And those guys are a huge part of our culture and building that culture every day. And, you know, they're just outstanding kids that make everybody around them better and have a huge impact on our team, really. And there's so many walk-ons that contribute a lot more than people think. I mean, I think that's, you know, everybody talks about the players that are starting, but, you know, in our world, there's nothing more valuable than a really good walk-on that's incredibly unselfish and it makes people around him better.
You mentioned Josh being one of the most improved players. He was pretty overlooked coming out of high school until you all made the offer. He was given the offer at that time. You know, he's down 25 pounds, I think, since when he arrived, too.
Yep.
Like, has he surpassed even maybe what you thought at the beginning? Or
Yeah. You know, he was a guy that really, you know, you could see him throw the ball. You weren't quite sure on his movements and how well he was going to move. As you said earlier, he's a little bit heavier than he is now, and I think he's really kind of reworked his body and is moving a lot better. I think that was the question, you know, really the only question we had really coming out of high school was, you know, how agile is he and how well is he going to be able to move? And, you know, he's really addressed that part of his game. He's worked really hard at it. I mean, you can see his ability to throw the football. You can see his decision making. You can see his accuracy. You can see his arm strength. You can see his ability to throw people open, his understanding of the offense. All that stuff was really, really easy to see. The only thing was, you know, how well is he going to move? And he's addressed it and really, honestly, moves incredibly well in the pocket, has great pocket presence and a good sense of when to step up in the pocket, when to leave the pocket, you know, throws well on the run, you know, all the things that you want to see a quarterback do. So I've been pleased with, you know, his development. And as I said, every day he seems like he gets better and better.
I think Hugh Freeze was the first one to maybe bring it up, but there's been some conversation about, hey, maybe doing away with the spring game, maybe actually doing the spring scrimmage against another D1 team. FCS.
Yeah.
Would you be open to it maybe down the
Well,
line?
I'd be open to it, sure. I mean, look, I would love to be able to do that. You know, play a real game against somebody. I don't think it's going to happen. You know, I'm kind of in the belief that spring football will eventually go away. You know, I kind of think that we'll have a little bit more of a pro model where we have some, you know, helmets only practices in the spring, and then have a little bit maybe in the summer, you know, before camp starts. You know, I think that 2 weeks in April and 2 weeks in June will probably be something at some point that we'll get to without a whole lot of contact. And it seemed like it was kind of headed that way, and it seems like that you know, some people have put the brakes on it, but I think that's where we'll eventually get to. But I love spring ball the way it is right now. I wish, as you said, I wish we could have a scrimmage, and I think it'd be great to play against somebody. But at the same time, you know, our goal is to always get our team better first and foremost, and make sure we don't cut our nose off to spite our face in terms of getting guys injured. You know, I want to have success in the spring, but having success in September and, you know, January is a lot more important to me.
Will it be more like Texas high school football 7-on-7?
I think it'll be more like kind of NFL mini camps, really, as much as anything else. I think you'll get them for a while, and you'll get to spend some time with them and do football stuff, but I think it'll be less contact. Now, again, we'll see. I thought it would have been that way already by now, and it hasn't been, so I probably don't know what I'm talking about.
When you look at the roster and you see so many players from this area, including the transfer portal,
Yep,
like
yep.
JoJo and Brockemeyer,
Yep.
and all, these were all elite high school football players in the area. That can't be on accident. I mean, is that
That's our
intentional?
model. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's our model, is to, you know, to number one, recruit DFW. You know, that's number one. Our goal is to get them the first go around. But TCU didn't get them the first go around, and so the important thing is to make sure we get them the second go around. If somebody is from the Metroplex and they go off to school A and they're not happy at school A, we want them to come back and be happy at school B, which is TCU, and that was kind of our model where we were before, and you know, I think it worked for us, and we were able to get find some players that really moved the needle, and probably the biggest one being Shane Michelle. But man, there's the transfer portal allows you to go out and find players and really kind of build your roster the way you want to, and you know, we want it to be guys that love football, and we want it to be guys that appreciate the opportunity to play at home, because I mean, there's nothing like it. You know, I mean, when your dad could come watch practice, or your family could come watch practice, or, you know, after your spring game, you're going to have, you know, 30, 40 family members at a game, you know, cousins and nephews and uncles and aunts and all this stuff. I think that's a big deal, you know, for young people, is to feel that support, and when they can feel it, you know, because they can come, they can jump in the car and drive over here to Fort Worth and support these young people. I think that makes a big difference.
Speaking of the spring game, Coach,
Yep.
how are you guys going to go about it? Do you draft guys? I mean,
No, you know, I always want to do that. You know, it's just, by this time of spring ball, you know, you got some guys banged up. You never have enough linemen. You never have enough skill guys, and so we'll just basically do very similar to what we did Saturday. We'll have kind of a controlled scrimmage where we work a lot of different situations, you know, and some really important stuff, and then some of it'll be thud, some of it'll be live. You know, it'll be basically a heavy team practice is what it'll be, with a little bit of special teams mixed in.
Anything else for Coach?
One more last thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about Kendall Briles.
Yep.
And how would you describe what he brings?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, you know, Kendall brings is a track record of success, confidence. I think he's a great communicator with our players. You know, I think he does a great job building relationships with young people, you know, current players on our team, also recruiting relationships. I think that's one of his biggest strengths. You know, I think he's a really good communicator, really upfront, honest guy. And you know, I think that resonates with people. I think there's not a lot of fluff with him, and I think that's a good thing. And as I said earlier, I think he's a really, really good communicator. I think that he's, you know, he got a real forward, direct approach, and like I said, I think it resonates with everybody really, but especially young people.